This is Karina Arnold, and this is your November energy reading. All right, well, let's get right into it. Thanks for joining me. It's been an interesting couple of weeks energetically leading up to November. I thought I'd put this out a few days earlier because I've already started getting messages. And if any of you saw when I pulled a couple of cards in my gratitude giveaway video, I think that was for last weekend, if I remember correctly. I was getting stuff then. And I kind of told them to hold back for a little bit because once they go, they start to go, and I start to get a lot of information. But um, and the wording is interesting. So they kept saying to me in November, brace for impact. And I could feel this huge energetic push come in, or impact come in. And so I'm not really sure what that means, other than I can feel the impact of the energy. Um, and they're saying brace for impact. And what they're showing me right now is everyone kind of digging their feet in the sense of like, let's brace for what's coming. There's something about preparation for what's coming. And they're not saying this in a fearful way. They're just saying that from an energetic standpoint, I think it's going to be intense. And they just said to me, self-care is going to be important as we start navigating into November to make sure that uh, we house the strongest energy possible. They keep showing me people, um, when they're all showing me like rugby players or football players when they're like ready for impact. And they've got their feet dug really into the ground. They're gripping, with their cleats or whatever. But um, that's what they're showing me. Stand strong in who you are, stand strong in your own energy, what you believe in, and make sure you're carving out specific times for self-care. I'm finding a lot of people's energy is quite low right now. And this is part of what's happening, all this energy, all this stuff that's coming, that's already started to come in. So we need to make sure that we are fulfilling or filling up our energy wells in whatever way that looks like for you, whether that's meditation, whether that's more sleep, whether that's quiet time with a good book. They're showing me exercise and out jogging. Maybe it's doing something creative. I know I've been craving doing creative things. I started doing wreaths. So we did a really cool Halloween wreath and some fall wreaths, um, just to kind of move my creative energy. And I feel like I want to start doing some jewelry design again. So those things that bring positive energy in, those things that are amplifying your energy, bringing in joy, um, really stand strong in who you are. And you're good to do that, though. You have to have a full well. And I know we always hear this, you got to fill your well, you got to fill your well, you got to fill your well, but there's no true statement, really. If you are depleted, it's very difficult to navigate through everything we're going through now. So whether that's taking care of your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, all of the above I just heard, we need to make sure that we're doing that, eating well, sleeping well, taking care of our bodies, moving them to move the energy, um, quiet time, downtime, time of reflection. They just showed me people writing journals, writing intentions, being very intentional. And I think they brought that up last time. So all that being said, let's get into the cards and let's see what other guidance they want to bring through for us. I'm guided to use the Sacred Power cards here. So by Anna Stark. So let me start with those. And let's see. I just heard two cards from this deck. So I'll pull two cards. Just asking for what is it we most need to know to help guide us toward best and highest in the month of November energetically. Just for brace for impact again. It's just a very important It's an important statement, but let's ask them to dig into that a little bit more. What does that really mean for the month of November? Just pulling out 2 cards. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about, right? Purification card and source card. And I'm actually going to try something new because I'm fiddling and learning with my editing tools. Is I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to try to put this card up so you guys can see it a little bit better. So hopefully I can do pop-ups. I learned a little bit in my last video if you noticed that. So I'm having some fun with that. Again, being creative, trying new things, filling your energy in different ways. I just heard it's time to let go of the old. So we all hear this, in spiritual groups, let go of that which is no longer serving you, etc., which is true. But also let go of old ways of doing things. Be open to new ways of doing things. Be open to change. Be open to shifts in direction. I know that's not easy because for many of us, certainly for me, I love security and certainty and. But the reality is that's just not where we are energetically on this earth plane right now. And we have to get into alignment with that and be more at peace, if possible, with the amount of change that's coming in. And I know many of us have change fatigue, as we call it, for the last, few years. There's been a lot of shifts, a lot of changing. Um, I just heard a lot of drama. But we need to make sure that we are staying open. And so my intention quite often is I'm staying open to opportunity. I'm staying open to the change that's necessary for my best and highest to come into my life. Um, and so let's go back into that because they're talking about with me, then that is the way that you do that is making sure that your direct connection to source or the other ways that you get connection, whether that's, maybe it's going to church. Maybe it is, like I said, meditating. Maybe it is reading and reflecting on spiritual scriptures. Maybe it is just working and talking with your angels and your guides more. Maybe it is seeing a spiritual teacher or a spiritual guide for guidance. But most of all, they want you to connect into your direct connection to Source because Source lies within all of us. We are all connected to Source. We come from Source. That is our truest energy, and we go back to Source when we transition. And working as a medium for so many years, that is the truest statement I can give you, is that there is nothing here but energy, and energy transforms in the way that it comes in and it lives in the physical form and it transitions out and it continues. And the soul continues to develop and grow and have new experiences. And so you are a piece of source. You are a piece of source energy in all of your expressions. And so really remembering that and connecting into that. And they just said, entrusting that, trusting that you are source and source is working with you for your best and highest. It's not easy to see sometimes when we're going through very challenging moments. They know that. They know that. And they have compassion for it. And that doesn't mean that we don't get out of step sometimes and we don't roll in the mud with the difficult things and we don't have a bit of a pity party. And that's part of being human, we have to allow ourselves to feel it and move the energy of things. But they just said to me, remember that connecting to source will give you the guidance, will give you the grace, they're saying, will give you the patience, is what they're saying, to align yourself with joy, to align yourself with living a loving and compassionate existence in life. And it will give you the patience to get there. Knowing that all things happen in divine timing is what they just said to me. Trust source, trust your connection to source. And when we're seeing lots of different things and we're seeing things that might be augmented by AI, when we're seeing things that we don't know, what can we trust, what's real, especially as things are coming out into the light, and we will start to culturally question what has been true. And many of us, it's interesting, they're saying many of us will feel betrayed as the truth comes out into the light by people that we held in high regard, by systems we thought were working in our best interest, but perhaps were not. And so as that starts to transform our experience here, it's pushing us to connect to our own internal connection of source. What is true? Listen to that piece of yourself, and allow that to purify. There's two messages here. Part of they're saying go back to what we originally were saying and guiding you through, that you need to make sure you are working with your energy, purifying your energy, doing all those different streams of healing possibilities is what I'm seeing here. So whether that's meditating, whether that's eating right, whether that's exercising, allowing that new energy, that higher vibrational energy to come in to assist you. But there's also what they're saying, the darker side of purification as more truths come out. So we need to, again, almost this looks like a well, doesn't it? Because I just said, notice it looks like a well. We need to continue to fill our well because it will seem dark at certain times. It will, as the light starts to emerge, is what they're saying. They're having me focus on this dot. As the light starts to emerge, as this truth starts to come out, make sure that you are filling your own personal well. Go to the well, they said. Go to your well. Go to the well of divinity. Go to the well of source, is what I just heard. So go to the well of source. Keep going back to that as new information comes out, as things start to shift, as people react to that shift. That's an important piece. I feel like what they're showing me is lots of people reacting to certain things and not actually connecting in and connecting into the higher truth of things and connecting into what is best and highest for all. I feel personal reactions, egoic reactions happening at times. And I feel like that's almost the brace for impact, is not necessarily just about the changes and the truths and things that are coming forward in the next few months, but it's the bracing the impact is the impact of people's reactions to these things. They said, make sure you have the support of your community around you. Notice the importance of community. And I think I wrote that on my Facebook and Instagram, is they've been really focusing or having me notice and focus the power of community, the power of those that are around you, those you surround yourself with, how that helps to lift you up, encourage you, motivate you, ground you, sometimes realign you if you're getting out of alignment. Those you trust, have them around you, and when they notice you might be off kilter, they're checking in, they're pointing that out to you, maybe offering assistance or service or an ear to listen to. Make sure your community is solid. Make sure they're a reflection of your vibration, your I want to say beliefs, but they said to me that's not the right word. Maybe values is a better word, of what you want to co-create in the world. You have people around you, community around you that's supporting you in that right now, okay? If you keep purifying your energy, do chakra meditations, maybe go and see someone and have some energy work done. All those different ways that we can purify and bring in the best energy possible, okay? I'm guided to go with the ancestor and angels cards. So, and I'm just guided to work with specific cards again and again and again, because I asked today, because it's hard to see, but in this bookcase behind me, probably 100 decks, I'm sure. But I haven't necessarily been guided to work with them, which is quite interesting. But I think part of that is, aligning with specific energy right now. So just one card from the ancestors and angels deck. Yeah. Well, there you go. The autumn card. Release the old and rest. Release the old and rest, which is what they were just saying, right? At the beginning. Um, I'm also hearing use the wisdom of the crow. The crow is very wise and is a watcher, watches everything from a higher perspective. Um, so as we release that which is no longer serving us, that which while we're staying open to new opportunities, new ways of growth, also making sure that we're seeing things from a higher perspective as we're bracing for impact. It's interesting because they're having me the crows on the ground, and as the energy embracing this brace for impact energy comes in, they're having me the crow go up to the light post and stand on top of the light post and actually see it from a different perspective. And I'm asking them why they're saying that. And they're saying that because it will be less impact on you if you can do that. So you're removing yourself out of the scrum, is what they're saying. Is that a term for rugby? I don't know, but that's the word they're using. But I think that's the right word. But remove yourself from the scrum of that energy and come up to a higher perspective. Get up into the light, onto the light post where the light is shining down on something, and allow that perspective to they're saying come into play more than being on the ground and being in the midst of everything, if that's possible. They just said to me they know that that's not easy, particularly if some of you are being immediately impacted, but it is possible, and they just want to remind you of that fact. And as they also mentioned, as part of a strategy for purifying your energy and taking care of yourself and self-care, again, reiteration in this card is to make sure you're resting. Carve out spaces for rest. Because what they're saying is the energy feels very fast coming in, lots of things shifting and changing very quickly. It's almost like some of us feel like we can't keep up with this energy. And so what they're encouraging us is to disconnect as much as possible. Again, they keep talking about going back into meditation, going back into observance, um, going back into reflection on what is important, what our priorities are, what our values are, and just sitting with things and resting. They also said that sleep is a key thing right now. So making sure that we are napping if we can nap, making sure that we are resting our bodies as much as possible and tuning out and checking out as much as possible. So let's go to the Sacred Destiny card for a little bit more guidance. The wrong card in that deck. So I just heard two cards from this deck. So what else is it that we need to know right now to navigate through the energy of November, please? Trying to understand what they're showing me here, but they said move like a cat. Um, Almost like the stealth energy where, again, it's an observance energy, it's a quiet energy. They're showing me like the way that a cat moves is very quiet. Birds don't hear them coming, there's this energy that they want you to have of, I guess, well, they're using the word stealth and stealth energy where it's uh, quiet, intentional. Each step is intentional. Um, and each step is not, they're really having me hone in on the cat's paws and how quiet they are. And each step is very slow and deliberate in certain ways in how they maneuver and get to what they want. Even when cats land, you very rarely hear them. They're so quiet. They're showing me a cat jumping down from a counter. Um, be quiet in your movements in November. Um, be intentional in your movements in November. I'm trying to get, it's like they want us to, as much as possible, maneuver around, again, the same thing with the crow, but a different way of saying it, maneuver around this impactful energy that's coming in. They're showing me a cat like peering around the corner before they go into the room, like this assessment of like this wisdom about, I'm going to take a quick look in there, but if it's not energetically for me, I'm not going. So this higher presence to really hone in on energetically what's right for you right now. They just said, don't go willy-nilly into the dark, whatever that means. Don't go willy-nilly into a situation that maybe not be what you're either prepared for or what you're expecting. So there's caution here in November, I think, around how you are utilizing your energy and your intention as we navigate through this energy in November. Yeah, I just heard be very intentional, be very strategic. Um, I like the word stealthy for some reason. um, don't go into a situation without being energetically prepared, is what I just heard. Be a watcher, be an observer. So two cards, two more cards. We got the Enlightenment card and we got the Delight card. And the one thing I'm hearing as I'm holding these cards, and we'll get into each card specifically, they just said is what they want to do, even though they're providing you with a guidance that has an undertone of a little bit of caution in how we navigate through November. They want you to know that it's all going to be okay. That's what I hear when I touch this Delight card, that it's all going to be okay. Again, I just saw birds seeing things from a higher perspective. This is a really powerful message for this month and some guidance for us all this month. We need to really be seeing things from a higher perspective. That no matter what is starting to unfold, specifically in November, and as we watch people's reactionary I'm trying to find the word they're giving me. Reactionary responses, I guess, is what I just heard. We need to sometimes remove ourselves and see things from a higher perspective, knowing that everything is taking us to a place of enlightenment eventually. Eventually. More light is starting to come through and stream through, they just said to me. But there is some other energy that has to be transmuted and worked with, is what they just said. They just said to me the denser energy here will never completely be gone, or we would be in a complete different dimensional experience altogether. But as these transformations come for us culturally and for us individually, continue to focus on the light and hold that perspective, please. I just heard not all hope is lost. So know that these things that are transpiring, these things that people will react to, it's interesting because I just got a message that they said this is not a joke. But when they said that, I'm not going to get into all the stuff that's coming out and all these. We all know this, the people that are currently in jail and the stuff with different industries and Hollywood and things like that. I'm not going to focus on that so much, but they're aligning it to that message. Is that some people are making money off of these situations. Some people are making jokes and making light. There's nothing wrong with moving energy through laughter and finding lightheartedness. And I know sometimes that's coping mechanisms, is what they just said, that sometimes that's a beautiful way to cope. And I know when I've been in difficult situations, certainly humor is one of the best tools for getting your way, navigating through that. Um, but there's a seriousness here to some of this stuff that's coming to light. And we cannot, they're saying, negate it or ignore it through this kind of aperture of what they're saying, an aperture of um, not wanting to take it seriously, or not wanting to have a radical step change culturally, or being really lighthearted, like all these TikTok videos and all these, people joking about. I mean, people have been, there is a level of radical abuse happening to many people on this earth. And those things we have to start taking seriously. We can't ignore it. And we can individually make changes with our own life, with doing our own healing. We can push for cultural shifts and laws to change. We can no longer support certain people that have been contributing to these things. But it's not something to be taken lightly um, as these things start to come into the fold, where we have another higher level of awareness of what's been happening behind the scenes. Um, I don't know why we're navigating into that message all of a sudden, but there's some seriousness here from the divine that this is not something to be taken lightly, what's been transpiring here, and the harm generationally that has been done for many generations and continues to unfortunately happen. And there has to be a level of what they're calling a little bit of spiritual outrage, because we can't change and shift. We can't do transformational change without looking at the hard things that aren't working, and without finding ways to do better going forward. And so there's a bit of a serious message around that. I'm a bit serious here for November, not wanting to, they're like, we don't want to stray away from hope, but we have to be, there are some things that we can't take so lightly, that we just push it off to the side because it's too hard to look at, or it's too hard to change, or it's triggering all our own internal wounding. And so when what they're saying is, when these things that look too big culturally, they're saying go back to internally how you contribute to that by looking at your own traumas, your own fears, your own triggers. And they just said that's the key. They showed me a key in a lock opening a door. That is the key when it seems too big. Some of us may be guided to be the people that change laws, or be the people that change our political systems or medical systems or whatever. Um, the majority of us, however, they say, our responsibility is again going back within and seeing, purifying our own energy. Thank you. They pointed to that card again. Purifying our own energy, making sure that we have healed, making sure that we're bringing in the purest and highest of energy, and allowing that to be the contribution back into source, to allow more energy to heighten, to allow more energy to come in and be in service to all of humanity. And so when it seems overwhelming right now with everything that's coming, that is the biggest contribution that you can give back to humanity right now. If you're feeling lost in how can I, the little things matter, is what they just said. So again, going back to their message, they said, let's rewind back to the message of the importance of community. How are you contributing to your community, your small community? Those things matter. Sometimes we get lost because it looks too big, and so we give up. I can't possibly impact change with the government. I can't possibly impact change with Hollywood. I can't possibly. You can with the little things. You can within your own communities. You can within your own school systems. You can within your own family structure, you can within your own friend structure. How do you show up for people? How do you want to be the change? Um, Again, they're showing me Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. I just had a card fly out while I was doing that. And it's spirals of manifestation. So they're just saying we manifest a new future and we start here within. I can never figure out which way I have to point because it's all backwards to me. So it comes here. It starts here from the center and then it spirals out, right? It spirals out into the world. Um, it always starts within us. It always starts with our intention. It always starts how we support and show up for our communities, for our sisters, for our brothers, for our people, for our families, for those we mentor, for those we teach. How are we showing up? What are we learning about ourselves? How are we growing? How are we bettering ourselves? That could be just, I'm just thinking about, singing a beautiful song for other people. It could be because we were visiting someone in the hospital yesterday, and some volunteers came in and were singing for people. And that lifted, I could feel the energy in that space lift. Those little things matter. Being there for each other matter. And so the spiral of manifestation, when it seems too overwhelming of all these large, big picture items that have to change, go back to the little things. Go back to how you speak to people. Go back to being kind to people at the grocery store. Go back to being kind to yourself. Go back to self-love and self-wellness. Go back here. Go back. And when you have energy enough here, when you've taken care of yourself enough, because that's the key. Again, they're pointing to that purification card to me again. Then we have the energy to start small. So maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's the people you mentor and coach, and then we can actually expand our energy out from there. Just gonna ask for one more card from the deck. We'll see if another card flies out. So what else do we need to know here? This is from the Sacred Rebel deck. I love that title, Sacred Rebel. And I just heard they love that too. How can we be sacred rebels? What does that look like? They just want us all to think about that. What does a sacred rebel really look like? How can we walk through sacredness still challenging the norm? How can we challenge how we're currently doing something in a sacred way? And they just said, we don't have the answers for you. You have the answers within. Because each of you will be guided to do individual things that are a little bit different. But you have that sacred rebel within you. They're showing me Jesus when he was overturning the tables in sacred rage again. I think it was in the Bible, things that were happening with greed in the banks and things like that culturally. So, what is our sacred rebel within? What are the things that we can no longer see, and what can we stand for? How do we shift that? Again, I just heard those little things matter. So just pulling one more card and then we'll get into a prayer card. What we just got the card. What do you feel? There's a couple things coming through for this card. The first thing is back to that sacred rebel piece. Is it's okay to feel upset with some of the things we're seeing. Again, that's part of like, this is not a joke, it's something serious. It's okay if you are emotionally upset about it, and feel through that. Always at the end, hopefully going to a higher perspective and trying to find a higher perspective. But also navigating through how we contribute back is how do we feel in certain circumstances. They're talking about when you have options in front of you, when you're thinking, should I do this or should I do that? Always go back to tuning into, Again, they're showing me the cat that's peering around the corner, looking at the energy in the room, feeling energetically if that's somewhere I want to go. So as opportunities or options come up, or when you're thinking, should I go left or right? Should I make this choice or that choice? Um, really tuning in right now into how you feel personally. How does this feel for me? And really trusting that and connecting into that right now. Because again, that's your greatest contribution. There's a strong message this month about your greatest contribution to how you can contribute back to the world and back to a much larger community is really trusting in your own guidance, in your own source guidance, your connection to source, and how you feel in each situation. I love that word stealthily, and I don't even think it's a word, but they keep saying it. Moving stealthily, energetically, right? So being being cautious in the way that we maneuver through things, really honoring the way we feel if something doesn't feel right, moving back around the corner, not going in that direction. So there's a caution energy here in November. Really tune into what you feel. Speaking of self-care, let's go into the Cheryl Richardson self-care card. So I love doing the prayer card at the final piece of a reading because it really helps to get clear on maybe an intentional piece going forward for the month. But let's also ask for guidance on self-care. And interestingly enough, I usually only pull one card, but I'm hearing two cards for self-care. What is it that everyone needs to know for self-care, please? The first card is boundaries. So that's what they've been speaking about, right? So setting boundaries, it says, set boundaries, protect your precious time and your energy. Again, be cautious where you're putting your energy this month. Make sure that you're only doing that which feels good, right? How do you feel? How do you feel? If you do not get a yes, it's an absolute no. If you're not getting a yes, it's an absolute no. They just said to me, stop second guessing yourself. They just said to me, many of you are second guessing yourself because of old paradigms, old belief systems, maybe culturally, all these shoulds that we grew up with. And, there's that statement, stop shooting yourself. But then that's what I'm hearing, stop shooting yourself. Go back to really listening to how are you feeling about something. And if it's not a yes, absolute yes, it's a no right now. It might not be a no forever, by the way, is what they just want to remind you of. Because sometimes there's disappointment in, I really thought this was going to work out. And what they're saying is it's just a temporary no at this moment, but listen to what is a yes at this moment. At this moment, listen to what is a yes. And there's that old, again, I keep going through old statements, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but I get it. Don't get rid of everything just because it's not transpiring in this moment. Just trust that the moment is not right for you right now. It might be right for you in the future. That could be tomorrow, by the way. That could be a week from now. That could be a year from now. That could be 10 years from now. So really trust and set some healthy boundaries and also set some healthy boundaries around self-care. Because they're showing me as people are going to be reacting to all this energy, there's going to be a lot of people that are in the habit of drawing energy from others, right? So it is good to show up for your community. It is good to be there for your community, but only please show up for your community when you have done that self-care piece. And I know that they've spoken that in this reading already, but they're really reiterating that you have to be in your highest vibrational frequency to fully show up for those in the best way possible. So please have some boundaries around, no, I actually have to sleep tonight. I can't go for coffee with you today, but how about 2 days from now? I will show up for you, but when my energy is restored. Because there will be some people that are really, I feel like a needy energy from people because, because of all of this that's going to transpire, there will be a lot of confusion energy in the next few months, and a lot of people needing some help and guidance, which is fine. But make sure that when you're showing up for community, you're already replenished, please. And then it's pleasure. Do something just for fun. Pleasure is one of life's essential nutrients. So yeah, now I understand why they wanted 2 cards. So again, reiterating the healthy boundaries. The other thing is similar, I guess, to what I was saying at the beginning is what is your creative passion? What do you love doing? You know, for me, I've been guided to maybe do some more jewelry. I'd love to, I signed up for another painting course again. So, you know, making sure that we're spending that time, you know, I love going to my singing class, but once a week, by the way, it's so fun. And I'm challenging myself in my singing class. I'm actually doing a Whitney Houston song right now, which is not easy, by the way. Um, but bless Mia for holding space for me in doing that. But I just want to, they just want to make sure that you're having some fun. Go have some fun. Go do something creative. Go do something where you are creating something new. There's so much power in creative energy, you know? There's so much power in a painting, in creating music, in creating jewelry, in creating uh, a course, in creating a book, in like the creative energy is so powerful because what they're showing me is it opens new gateways of possibility creation. You know, when you're in a creative energy and artistic energy, they're showing me doorways start to open because you're in the flow of with the divine creative energy, and the divinity is always creating, always expanding. So when you're in a creative energy, you are in that expansive energy, is what they're showing me. And when you're in expansive energy, new possibilities open up for you. New possibilities open up for humanity. So, from a bigger picture perspective, as you're starting to see things break apart and truths come to light and all this kind of stuff, there is also the possibility of creating something new. So, hold on to that intention, please, I just said. So, within our own lives, again, going back to the singular, where you are able to um, do the most impactful things, is what they're saying. Um, Making sure that you are contributing to your well-being through doing something creative, whatever that looks like for you. And they just said, don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to try something new. I was petrified when I first got on the stage when I started singing. And still some days when I'm singing challenging songs, I'm like, are you kidding me? What am I doing up here? But you might surprise yourself. And when you move energy and when you're trying new things and when you're being creative, it's such a powerful vortex of possibilities, what they're showing me. Open up new gateways, new vortexes of possibility. That's fascinating. I'm stepping into a new vortex of possibility. So every time you're doing something creative, you're stepping into a new vortex of possibility where a whole new paradigm of energy can start around you. Um, and they also said some of us are almost bombarded with all these new ideas and new energy. We also have to slow down and focus and get intentional, right? Because what can happen too is when you're being creative, you have that creative juices running. Um, we never accomplish many things because we're constantly thinking, what about this and what about that? You know, kind of like squirrel energy is what I call it. Um, again, going back to that peaceful, quiet, reflective energy and being intentional now about the things that you really want to connect into and create. And I have to do that even, you know, when I'm doing things. Okay, I'm really going to finish this wreath. And then next week, my intention is I'm going to play around with some jewelry and have some fun with that. Or I'm going to do more writing, or I'm going to work on this course that I'm developing. So, some of us might feel very scattered because there's lots of possibility opening up in the ethers, is what they're just saying. But make sure you kind of slow down a little bit and be somewhat intentional in that, or they're saying we'll miss the boat. It's like the boat's going to pass us. It's like there's these speeding boats of possibility and all these ideas like coming to many of us. but you've got to focus on jumping in that boat and actually driving the boat, if that makes sense. Okay, let's go to the final card, which is the prayer card. So just asking for what prayer we all need for the month of November, please. What is the prayer and intention you would like us to hold as we navigate through the month of November? Honoring. Says, I am kind and loving. Change me, divine beloved, into one who honors my emotions. Let me feel my feelings without judgment and then release them. Show me how to be kind and loving to the child inside who needs care. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? Again, we're going back to self-care here, aren't we? And going back to really trusting your feelings, as you're stealthily moving and peering around some energetic walls here. Do I really want to go in that direction? Let's take care of our inner selves. Let's take care of our inner child. If she's fearful, if she's saying no, if there's any hesitancy, then we're not going there, because we have to take care of ourselves too. Again, letting go of those shoulds that culturally some of us has been driven into us, right? To show up in specific ways for people, for places, So what's best for our inner child? What's best for our inner child? Be kind and loving to yourself. I think that's a beautiful message as we wrap up this month's guidance video. Honor yourselves. Be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself. And ask your inner child, does this feel authentic and safe for me? Then I'm going to go there. Does this feel joyful? Does this feel fun? That's that part of that creative energy. That's fun to do new things, right? It's fun to get up and sing. It's fun to create energy, to paint. It's fun to do jewelry. It's fun to write. These are fun things. That inner child in you wants to play. And again, it creates vortexes of possibilities, what they just said. It opens up doorways for new energy to come in when we are playful with the universe, when we're having fun. And your inner child, they just want to have some fun. Take care of that little child within yourself. Make sure you're honoring them this month, okay? Okay. Until next month, much love to you. Much love to you. Know that everything's going to be okay. Take care of yourselves this month. Be cautious on where you use your energy. Do your best to do creative endeavors. Open up new vortexes of possibility, okay? And when you do, attempt to stay focused and really hone in those things you really want to put your energy into this month. Move stealthily, I love that word. See things from a higher perspective when you can. Brace for impact. There's lots coming our way, but we'll be okay. Okay, beloveds, much love to you. I've got a whole day of readings happening, connecting with beautiful souls, so I'm very excited about that. Until next month, and I'd love to hear your comments. Please like and share if you've gotten this far. It's lovely to get this message out to as many people as possible. Love you. You take care of you. Bye-bye.